President Joe Biden hopes to announce the decision to release oil from the strategic petroleum reserves on Tuesday during a speech at the White House. But the timing of such a move is still contingent on other nations finalizing their agreements. So the United States has asked China, India, Japan, and South Korea to join in a coordinated effort to release reserves of crude oil. The Biden administration hopes that such a move would help combat soaring gasoline prices and fears of inflation, or at least show that a president is focused on addressing what has become one of his deepest political challenges. If successful, such an agreement could help keep a lid on gasoline prices heading into the holiday travel season and relieve some of the political pressure, at least in the short term, that the White House has been feeling over the energy crunch, which officials believe is directly linked to inflation and high consumer prices. Now, two officials say that a final US decision hasn't been made simply because it is intended to be coordinated with other nations in what would be a rather unique effort. But there is a hope it would be finalized by tonight. When asked about a possible decision, White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said that she doesn't want to get ahead of any process. So that's something which says that maybe it's an abeyance, but yes, I think they should be doing it quickly. I'll explain to you the reason. The president is scheduled to deliver remarks Tuesday afternoon on the economy and lowering prices for the American people, just according to the White House schedule, just hours before he's set to leave for a Thanksgiving break on Nantucket off the coast of Massachusetts. In recent weeks, Biden has been privately advised that tapping into the reserves wouldn't do much to alleviate the current problems, though some Democratic lawmakers argued that it could provide at least a temporary relief at the pump. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer has been among the Democrats who are leading the charge. But the option remained on the table given Biden had few others, as officials believed coordinating with other countries could potentially have more of an impact. That's why you have Japan, India, South Korea come into the picture. One step he took last week was to ask the Federal Trade Commission to investigate whether illegal activity by oil and gas companies is contributing to higher gasoline prices. The top oil industry group, the American Petroleum Institute, slammed the move as a distraction from Biden's own policies they believe are exacerbating the crisis. The administration has been facing reluctance from OPEC Plus to ramp up oil production to meet rising demand. Coordinating with other nations would be an attempt, of course, to undermine the cartel's control of the market. The thinking has been that we can do this alone, uh, or we can do it internationally, and the latter would be much more effective, especially when it comes to sending a message to the Saudis, according to a senior official of the White House who is involved in the discussions. Biden and his aides have been pushing Beijing in particular to release its reserves, arguing that it is in their interests as much as the United States to try to stabilize oil prices. Officials familiar with the matter say so. China has signaled in recent days that it is moving towards such a release, which one Biden official characterized as a major victory for the administration. China, as you know, is in a tough spot. It's in a balancing act. It sees its future as linked to the Persian Gulf. They want investment, want ties. They don't want to piss off the authorities there, but they also do not want to piss off Biden administration. The real threat to Xi Jinping's hold on power would come from an economic collapse from an escalation in tensions with the United States. A coordinated release would, of course, also show Saudi Arabia and OPEC plus that the US was serious when it warned that it would act if OPEC did not. Biden officials have warned at the Saudis for weeks that the US would find alternative solutions if the price of crude oil topped $85 a barrel, which it did late last month. But Saudi Arabia has stood firm in refusing to increase output and has priced in wrongly in the view of US officials the possibility that the US reaches a nuclear deal with Iran. The Saudis' concern is that sanctions on Iran would then be rolled back, allowing the country to ramp up its oil production and compete with OPEC plus. The political ramifications, of course, of the high cost spurred the White House to make the energy issue a top priority. In recent weeks, the soaring costs of gasoline across the country so alarmed White House Chief of Staff Ron Klain at one point that he suggested taking the dramatic step of halting US oil exports to drive the cost down. That, despite the fact that Wall Street banks and industry experts have warned that banning oil exports would backfire, causing gasoline prices to go higher, not lower. But the White House has viewed the energy crisis as a national security issue as much as an economic and political issue, as reflected in the makeup of the group that has been working on extensively in recent weeks. A small group of top Biden advisors, led by National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan and National Economic Council Director Brian Deese, have been meeting regularly to try to determine how best to combat the rising prices. Sullivan and his deputy John Feiner have been overseeing the meetings with Dee's senior energy advisor Amos Hochstein and Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm and her deputy David Tuck. Now, senior National Security Council officials Brett McGurk and Kurt Campbell have also played key supporting roles, engaging their counterparts in the Middle East and Asia Pacific to try to encourage more cooperation with the United States on this issue. Domestic oil producers have signaled to Biden that they would be willing to ramp up production if asked, but the White House has been wary of the optics of the president and his aides pushing for more domestic oil production on the heels of the major UN climate summit COP26, where Biden promised that the US would lead by example on clean energy initiatives. Administration officials now believe that at least in the short term, they could secure a significant arrangement with China, Japan, India, and South Korea that won't require halting US exports or asking domestic oil producers to boost supply. Still, releasing barrels from emergency reserves is not a long term solution because it doesn't solve the underlying supply demand equation. Emergency reserves hold a very finite amount of oil, and those barrels are typically reserved for supply shocks like natural disasters or wars, not surging demand from an economic recovery. Now, a coordinated release would only provide a short term fix to a structural deficit in the oil uh, market, and the Wall Street is not particularly enthused by this. They argue that a coordinated release is been fully priced in. We have to wait and see what the impact will be on oil prices. But even the threat of tapping the SPR and having other countries to do the same has already successfully helped to lower oil prices. You can see that very well. It has not yet translated at the pump, but yes, let us wait for the announcement from the Biden administration tomorrow. A formal announcement, if made quickly, can help cool off some prices and can be beneficial to oil importing countries such as India, China, Japan, and therefore such a lower oil prices is eventually good for the manufacturing activity. And otherwise you find that consumer inflation will keep going up and they will need to keep coming out with measures to cool down the inflation. So let's wait till tomorrow. I believe that an announcement is on the cards and it will help in cooling down the oil prices. Having said that, this is only a part of the equation. The other part is that there are many assets which are across asset classes which are across the world which are in a terribly speculative zone currently, thanks to the very easy monetary policy of the US Fed. And even if this oil strategic uh, petroleum reserves, SPRs as they are called, even if they are released, yet they will not solve the problem. There is more yet to come. And the very fact that inflation has been very sticky in nature in other asset classes would force the Fed to act sooner rather than later. All this can lead to great amount of nervousness in the market, and we could one more rise in the bond yields could disturb the equation and could also impact stocks, and especially the stocks that have run up tremendously during the year, the fresh IPOs, the cloud computing stocks, the electric vehicle EVs. You find the cryptocurrencies, all this could get into the under the hammer. So please be very cautious at this point of time. What can happen when? Please do remain tuned on my YouTube channel, and if you have not yet joined, then please do so, and do become a part of my premium or premium plus Telegram channel. To get more information, please do email me at globalmoneyinvestor@gmail.com, or you can WhatsApp me on 982-086-1044. Email is globalmoneyinvestor@gmail.com. Happy investing. Take care. Bye bye.